insurance. So this is one that we have been fighting for a few years, right, Alex? It took years to pass.
It's 4 years.
Yeah, about 4 years, exactly. Also, on the issue of conservation land, you've heard me before, I've talked about how much land Florida owns in conservation. Now, there's a need to own some. There's some water needs and there's some other needs that they need to own some land, but right now, just in conservation land, they own 1/3 of Florida, just in conservation. Now, with that, we talk about fiscal responsibility, they get bonded out, there's debt service, and there's maintenance costs. So what we need to do is make sure that every piece of property the state buys is absolutely necessary for the quality of our water, for various things. And so we've been fighting just this sort of arbitrary, they buy more land, just buy it because we have the money, And so we've been fighting that, and actually it's been going pretty well for the last few years. There's been less money spent on conservation land. This year they did give $100 million to Florida Forever, which means that can be bonded. It means they can buy a lot more than $100 million in land because it's bonded out and it'll be a debt service. But they tried to put in the original bill to make it automatic. Every year would be $100 million spent. Again, if you have a reason to buy land, let me know. It's not arbitrarily just say buy land for the sake of buying land. And then on the issue of corporate welfare, what they call economic development. We've been opposed to that because that is picking winners and losers. Privileged companies get special treatment from the government, and many businesses, smaller businesses, get hurt. It goes to the big businesses. They get tax breaks and grants and various things, and we've been opposed to that because we think in a free market, everybody competes on a level playing field. Nobody gets special treatment, and nobody gets worse treatment. Speaker Corcoran really championed this issue last year and basically brought an end to all this major fund, hundreds of millions of dollars over the years, given out to a company to move here. And then what happens is these companies never produce the amount of jobs they promised. They never produce the wages they promised, because you can't. Again, in a free market, a CEO cannot honestly say, I know I will pay these kind of wages for 20 years. I know I'll keep this amount of employees for 20 years. You can't. Any CEO that says that's lying. Economic conditions will dictate how many employees you can keep and what your wages will be. So that's just was an impossible dream. But anyhow, that's been greatly reduced. Again, the drug primary care passed. Now there's a bill, and y'all may have heard this. It's going to be on the ballot. The legislature voted to put this on the ballot that would require the Florida legislature, in order to raise taxes or fees, would require 2/3 of the legislature. And I like that. Y'all like that?
Yes. Yes.
So, they cannot in the future, they can't just, and I'll tell you in a minute why we need to have this, because the fiscal responsibility has been a little bit lacking. One of the sort of the bad part of what happened, but maybe with some good news, is Liberty First Network's been trying to repeal the use of red light cameras.
Yes.
And we have now passed it 2 years in a row through the House, and with pretty large margins. And it goes in and it dies in the Senate. The Senate won't take it up, or it would fail in the first committee. So we were disappointed about that. Now the good news is that there's getting to be fewer and fewer people in the legislature that want to keep the cameras, except that all you need is, in the way the legislature's set up, as a bill has to go through committees, one chairman, and I'll talk about some gun bills in a minute, one chairman or chairlady of a committee can kill a bill no matter if the rest of the legislature likes it. That's just the way the system's set up. We've also the Liberty First Network's been fighting to drain the swamp. And the way that we see draining the swamp, much like Donald Trump, the way we're focused on it here in Florida is the use of political committees. Are you familiar with the state political committees operate a little bit like a PAC on the federal level, but they're a little different. But what it does is allows politicians to create, so you're running for office, and what's the state, House and Senate minimum donation is what? I mean, maximum donation is $1,200 or
3,000 for the 3,000 for governor and 15, I think, for the state house.
15 or 1,200 for the state house. But that doesn't even matter because they set up a political committee that in their name, and they run it and they manage how the money's spent, and they can raise as much and people can donate as much as they want, and that's where you'll see U.S. Sugar. We were talking about U.S. Sugar. They can donate millions and millions to one candidate they want, and that person can use that money for his campaign. So, but what they would do though, because these big special interests didn't want people to really know that they've given this money, they started a shell game with these political committees, and they started a transfer. So it would go to one committee, it would go to that committee, it would go to that committee, go to that committee, and finally when it reached its destination, you can't track it. So we don't know who's funding who. And so what the legislation that we've been fighting to get passed would prohibit that transfer of money between political committees. So if you want to give all you want to, any candidate's committee, you can do that, except that it will be reported and we'll know who's funding who. And I think when somebody in elected office is voting on things that affect my life, I want to know who's funding you. And so that's legislation that we're still fighting for. Again, the good news on that is we're getting more and more legislators. When we first went out there, nobody wanted to touch it because they all want to, they want to keep their political committees. But more and more people are realizing now. We had at first the Republicans didn't want to sign on to it because they were in power and they want to stay in power, and part of staying in power is having political committees. But now more and more Republicans are coming forward and going, you know what, this is not right. This is not right, and we support this bill. So that's another one that we're moving forward on. But right now, I'd like to spend just a little bit of time, and not too much, but I want to talk about the budget. Probably the biggest disappointment this year was that the budget came in at $88.7 billion. And that is an increase of about $6 billion more than the previous one. And Milton Friedman said spending is taxation. And the more you spend, the more you're eventually going to have to raise taxes or find some way to pay for it. And what's even more disturbing that they did this. Now, one thing they'll say, if you talk to somebody in Tallahassee, they'll say, look, John, we had Hurricane Irma, and we spent $1 billion on disaster relief. I go, okay, fair enough. And they said, look, we had the Parkland High School shooting. We had to spend $500 million, on school hardening and school safety issues. I don't know why they had to take our gun rights away at the same time, but so I said, fair enough. But if you take out that $1.5 billion, they still had a massive increase in spending and reached an all-time high ever. While, the good news with the bills, fewest bills ever, but the bad news is they're spending like this. And so that's something that we really need to start focusing on because we're getting warnings. Amy Baker, who's the Florida's chief state economist, she reports all of the budget forecasts. Here's what things look like we're going to have money to spend on. And she before Hurricane Irma, said, look, and when she testified in committee, she said, we're looking at $3 billion in deficits in the next 2 years for the Florida budget. $3 billion in deficits. And so, she said you all are going to need to take that into consideration when you spend money. And not only that, Florida Tax Watch warned that the state general revenue spending is growing faster than available revenue and that budget shortfalls of $1.1 billion and $1.6 billion loom in the next 2 years, so almost $3 billion. And so, getting those warnings, they went on a record spending spree. It's like, you just got warned, and you knew you were going to have to spend money on Irma. Of course, we didn't know at the time about Parkland High School, but you knew you had to spend money. So they're spending more than they need to, right? And so we got to get serious, and we got too many of my fellow Republicans that serve in the legislature are painting too rosy a picture, saying, I spoke to a representative down in Naples. He represents a district down there. And he goes, John, I hear you, but we're not as bad as New York.
Oh boy.
And I said, that's your benchmark? You're not as bad as New York, not as bad as California? I'm like, that's the wrong way to think. We can spend as long as we're not as bad as New York. So, according to the National Association of State Budget Offices, between 2012 and 2017, the state's total spending increased about 31%, making the state with the 8th fastest growing yearly budget. So he was wrong. There's about 7 other states that spend a little bit more than that, but we're the 8th worst. In that same period of time, the median state spending of all 50 states was only 18%. Since 2011, the state budget has grown by more than $21 billion, or 33%. While inflation has only gone up 9% and population growth has only gone up 8%. So we have a spending problem, and we need to recognize it. One of the things we got to start worrying about is our Florida retirement system. This is what pays government pensions for state and county employees, basically. It's been pretty stable, but all of a sudden they've announced that they have it's a $160 billion total pension fund, and they're going to be short $180 million. 180 million, I don't know. May not sound like a lot of money on a $160 billion budget, but the problem is the money that was they take in the pension money they collect from the counties and from contributing by state employees, and they put that into a fund that they invest in the stock market, which they all do that. I mean, nothing wrong with that, but the problem is the returns are not coming in as good as they thought, and so there's going to be a strain on the paying out pensions to the state employees. The county's going to face the biggest increase. $66 million by 67 counties. But $66 million, that means Lake County is going to have to start digging up more money to help contribute towards the Florida retirement system. So, Medicaid is a $27 billion. Now, the federal government pays 60% of it, but we still pay 40%. And Medicaid is a growing and growing and growing and growing. So, there's another thing. So, as you can see, we're going to have some strains on the budget, and yet they're spending at record amounts. And at some point, that's why we need the ballot initiative or the ballot amendment to be voted on that says they can't raise taxes unless 2/3 approve it. Because I want them to be forced to go, you know what? We got to make some hard choices, just like families do. We can't just spend. We have to set priorities. Transportation may be a priority. They should make it a priority, but they may have to, say we don't need to do this anymore. Education is another one. That between Medicaid and education is 2/3 of the budget of a $89 billion budget. And of course, the more students move to Florida, the budget for education goes up. And so these are the things that are happening. If they don't get serious about looking at the budget and going line by line by line by line, they don't like to do this. It's a lot of work, but they're going to have to start to. And if we pass this, and I hope we do, they're going to have to either look at, they're going to have to make some budget cuts. Florida has in Florida we have a balanced budget amendment, right? So it means Florida legislature can't spend more than they take in revenues. But they can bond out debt, just like I told you with Florida Forever for conservation. They have all kinds of bonds for building prisons, perhaps, schools, whatever. And we have a bond debt total right now outstanding of $23 billion. So we are in debt, and we have a debt service on that we have to pay, which is just short of $2 billion a year in debt service on the bond debt. So anyhow, my point being is that any politician that comes here and tells you that we're a fiscally sound state, I think they're burying their head in the sand here. And I think nobody wants, when you're a legislator, everybody comes to you you have almost $90 billion budget, so everybody knows you have money to spend. I'm one person in the legislature. I'm not, but I'm just saying if you are, you have a vote on how that money gets distributed. So as a special interest or a special interest lobbyist, I have an interest in wanting to come to you and being really nice and helping your campaign out, and I want some of that money. And at some point, like a representative told me years ago, he says at some point they're going to have to learn to say no to all these spending promises that they make. Another thing they do is they'll do what's called trust fund sweeps. And so money goes in, so like the fuel tax, the state tax they collect on the fuel tax, the state portion of it that you pay at the pump goes into a transportation trust fund that the Florida Department of Transportation would then oversee, but it goes into that trust fund. Well, what the legislature will do, if they want to spend a little bit more money, but they don't want to say, they sweep it out, what they call sweeping of the trust funds. They've been taking it from other trust funds, and they'll say, we balanced the budget. But they took money from transportation. Transportation dollars should be paying for transportation. So, and then I'll just wrap up here. I do want to, can I weigh in on the 5-cent fuel tax thing? Just and I'm not here to debate or to say good or bad. I agree that a user tax is optimal for taxation. I just want to think about a few things here. So, the 5-cent tax, as you said, sir, would cost about an average of $50 a year per driver in Lake County. It's not a big deal. And through an article I read, the county commission said it would generate about $6 million annually to go towards the upgrades. So, just based on my experience with dealing with the state budget, one problem they have. So I'm always worried when they make a projection, because the fuel tax wouldn't kick in, the 5-cent wouldn't kick in until 2020. But they're going to take that, again, based on how they do it in Tallahassee, they're going to go, we have $6 million to start knowing we're going to get it, and we're going to start spending it. We're going to obligate ourselves. And what can happen is, then they'll make budget decisions based on we're getting $6 million. And the problem with that is that drivers' habits change. Right now, I gassed up earlier today, and I'm like, what? Oil prices are going up. And that, we know oil prices go up changes drivers' habits. They go, I'm going to drive less. So you can have as oil prices go up, driver habits change. And I do know, not to a great degree, but the travelers coming through, there's an app that will tell you gas prices. Yeah. And I can tell you, I know people that travel for a living, they look at that, and if they're coming through Lake County, I live in Sumter. Sumter has the lowest county part of the fuel tax. They're one of the lowest fuel tax county in the state. If they're going through Sumter, they're going to gas up for Sumter before going through Lake City. My point being, in a major amount, no. But will it reduce? Could it reduce? Can we depend on $6 million? No. Lake County already has the county has an optional increase in the fuel tax of 6 cents. They did that, right? Lake County already has 6 cents. So that means they have been bringing money in that's supposed to be dedicated to roads. They did have 6 cents per gallon. Now they're offering this. Now they can do another optional 5 cents, which would be 11 cents. But they would now have, tied with Miami and a couple other counties, the highest gas tax in the state. And so I guess my question would be is, what have you done with the 6 cents per gallon over the years? Why is it, according to the county commission, that a quarter of the roads that the county maintains is considered in disrepair when you've had 6 cents per gallon? Now, it's not enough, explain that to me. But you have had money. They do get money from the state. There's some revenue sharing, transportation dollars, and also some federal dollars that come in. And then also, too, again, setting priorities. What about our property taxes? Did somebody say the millage rate here earlier for property taxes? The millage rate? So if the millage rate is, if property taxes are high, the gas tax that comes in becomes the highest tax, you will, they're all saying that people will vote with their feet. And so the only thing is, again, I'm not saying that it's a bad idea or that you should vote no. I'm just saying you need to think about it, think about all the consequences, and ask the county commission some tough questions. Ask them what they did with 6 cents. Why is 25% of the roads in disrepair when you were getting 6 cents a gallon? Why do you think the extra 5 cents will now make a huge difference? Ask tough questions. And then maybe go, okay, I like what you said. I'm going to vote for it. But I'm saying there is, again, dealing with state budgets, I have seen where they start projecting out because they think they're going to raise so much revenue. They passed the cigarette tax in 2009. And they said this is going to bring in, I'm just going to throw a number because I can't remember now. I want to say it's going to bring in $1 billion a year. You know what they did? They started saying it wasn't going to kick in for a couple of years. And then, of course, it takes some time for the money to come in. They started spending money like they had $1 billion. You know what happened? People started buying those cigar-looking cigarettes. They pay $1 a pack for those. It's not taxed. And they were paying $7 for a pack of Winston's. So I'm just saying, be careful, ask a lot of tough questions. Ask the county commission some tough questions. And at the end of the day, if they can prove to you that they've been responsible with all their spending and that they can show you how they will spend that 5 cents and why that 6 cents wasn't enough and why 25% of the roads are in disrepair, and then make a decision and vote for it.
Where is that information from?
So I got the information about the roads in disrepair, and I'll forward you the article. It was a Orlando Sentinel article, and it was quoting the county commissioners. So I'm using their words. Yeah. No, that's fine. Yeah, no. And I was actually going to send it because Amy and I talked about this, so I was going to send Amy the information.
I got it already.
One thing,
you're right on, John.
One thing that's unique about Lake County is we don't spend any money, any ad valorem tax on the roads.
Mm-hmm.
Most counties do. So that, and personally, as a realtor, as a tax, I own real estate, I'd rather pay it at a gas pump than on my.
Right. I'm just saying.
And our ad valorem taxes are not real low, but they're lower than a lot of places.
Okay. Now I'm just saying that if the 6 cents that they were applying in fuel tax wasn't enough, and they have 25% of roads in disrepair, and now they're going to go to 5 cents. What if that's not enough? And what if driver habits change? Home buyers buy homes, they sell homes to buy homes, but drivers will change their driving habits based on smallest margins. And so if they don't bring in that $6 million a year, then what? You know what I'm saying? That's I don't want. Again, it doesn't answer the question.
The group that studied it 10 or 12 years ago said we should have that nickel plus there needed to be something else because we were way behind. Then we're still way behind, and they haven't even. This is the first time they've even talked about it. They said, okay, we'll let the voters decide. They had no guts whatsoever. It was just a no-brainer to take this nickel 12 years ago, and because of that, we're 25% bad repair.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, so if the 6 cents wasn't enough, they want more money. Just ask tough questions. That's all I'm saying. Just ask tough questions because, the 6 cents wasn't enough. If 6 cents a gallon and you have roads in disrepair, I'm not sure that 5 cents is going to make a huge difference.
This committee was some very conservative citizens. It wasn't.
Well, again, like user tax, I think is the optimal way to tax. I agree with you that. Again, I just always. Senator Jack Valley yelled at me one time because I testified before a committee on the conservation land and purchase of land, and so I just posed a question to him. I was there to comment, like all citizens can do, and I just said, "Well, Senator, when is enough enough?" And he goes, "You don't get to ask me any questions." I said, "Oh, okay, so the idea that you work for us apparently doesn't work for you." But I'm going to ask tough questions. And again, at the end of the day, I may go, okay, you convinced me. Like I said with conservation land, we do need some conservation land owned by the state. We do. But I don't know that we need, the whole state. If you factor in other real estate holdings by the state, we're at actually 50%. when you consider all the other real estate holdings outside of conservation land. And so at some point, so does that mean we're 100% would be communism, and so are we at 50% half communist? I mean, so anyhow, again, if you think we need to buy land, why don't you explain it to us, not just me, us, the people? We're smart, and you might win us over, you know? Yes, sir.
So let me ask you a question. When an employee working for the state, he retires, does he get substantial raises over his
Cost of living,
cost of living?
I believe they do. I don't want to swear to it, but I do believe that you know what they do.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're going up. They always get, it's gone up like 7% this year, I think.
Yeah, and the legislature can adjust that, or they can say, they did actually cut their raises down for quite a few years to try to, rein in some spending there.
You know, the reason why I asked that, I worked for utilities for about 30 years, and when I retired, I had a pretty good income. But over a period of 35 years, I have lost 70% of my buying power.
Wow, yeah,
So
great.
if you're going to find a job, work for the government.
Yeah, no, exactly, yeah.
Question, to pass this that you're talking about in the fall for this, no.
No, the
For
two-thirds,
the 2/3, do you have to have 60%?
60%.
So if you're on the dole, you're not gonna vote for it,
Nope.
right?
It's gonna be tough to pass.
Okay.
It's gonna be
So
real
it-
tough.
So marijuana's easier to get passed than fiscal. So my another question is that if the state of Florida is spending 2/3 of its budget on 2 items, and I thought Obamacare was taking care of all of the medical care. How in the world, how much per person in the United States, if you had the federal, the state, I'm paying $350 a year to the hospital districts for patient care. And they don't even use this county for patients. They use other counties that come to those hospitals.
Mhm.
Now, those hospitals make profit every year,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And they take that from every resident in the north part of the county. And, I mean, $350.
Mm-hmm.
And.
And you're saying, and what happened to Medicaid, because they're supposed to be picking up the
Right,
cost,
right,
right?
I mean, and.
Well, one problem is that not everybody qualifies for Medicaid, even though they may be very poor. It is restricted to, in Florida anyway, it's restricted to children or parents with children, low income, women with children. So people without children won't get Medicaid. I don't care how broke they are or how poor they are, they'll never qualify for Medicaid. You basically have to have children. And so not everybody qualifies for Medicaid. They robbed us of, and Obama robbed us of choice. If I want insurance, I have to have Cadillac coverage. I have to have, what is it for? What they call maternity. I got to pay for that. And so I can't. So what you have, I'm not saying people are justified in going to the emergency room and not paying anything, but I'm just saying when the government makes it hard for you to have health care with Obamacare, and hopefully Trump will get this repealed finally.
I'm confused. They passed laws 10 years ago, and all that tobacco tax that they got extra, that's going for children's health care. So we got children's health care getting paid that way. We got it paid by the state. We got it paid by the federal government. I bet you we're probably paying, I don't know, $10,000 a year for everybody, whether they pay it or they don't pay it.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, no, it's crazy.
I mean,
Yeah, no, it's a budget buster.
you're talking about the retirement programs. I don't know if you've heard or not, but the way they're going to solve it in 6 of the 600 retirement programs in Illinois, they're going to have 1% tax for 30 years on homes. And they said they don't care whether the people sell their houses and leave or not, because the value of their homes is going to go down 30%.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to pay the tax whether they move or whether they stay there.
Yeah.
So, and that's only 6 out of 600 that's going to fix.
No, it's retirement systems around it's bankrupt in some cities, and out in California, it's bankrupt in some cities. And it's really something, the defined benefit versus a defined contribution, 401k. Yeah. Look, when you get less on a 401k, then look, the government can promise to pay anything.
Right.
Sure, they can give you better benefits because they'll promise the world. But
And
a
they'll
401k,
take it from the people who have.
and then they'll get it from somebody.
Right.
Exactly. So of course 401k won't pay as much. Well, of course not. But it will be sustainable, and you will have a retirement. Right now, if things don't change, we're in trouble. And
Yeah, back to that was it a constitutional amendment
yes,
that the legislature
Two-thirds,
put on
yeah.
about the 2/3? Is that 2/3 in the House and then 2/3 in the Senate?
sure.
As
Yeah.
well?
Right. So any tax increase right now still has to be passed by both chambers. So if they propose a tax increase, it would have to pass both chambers and signed by the governor.
By 2/3.
If only, not now, simple majority.
Right,
now,
but
simple-
I mean, if that's passed. We
that passes.
ought to get behind that one. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I think so, because, I just told you, if they don't get serious with this budget and the kind of money they're spending up there, they're gonna come, Amy Baker says they're gonna eventually have to consider tax
We have a
increases.
spending problem, so if we make it more difficult to raise taxes,
They're gonna have to deal with
then
it.
they'll have to deal with the
Like we all
spending,
have
and they'll
to do.
actually have to cut stuff.
Yeah,
Isn't that a good idea?
Very good.
I think so.
I think it's a good.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Most sections, I didn't hear about the last section, there's bills that come up, have a name like Cedar Springs. But when I read the bills, it has very little to do with springs and a lot to do with regulating septic tanks.
Mhm.
Is there anything in the last section about that in there? Because
On septic tanks? On the septic tank issue?
on the Cedar Springs,
Yeah. No, that's an ongoing issue, and of course, the septic tank issue is an ongoing issue. They're
tie them together.
well, they're trying to get rid of all septic tanks altogether.
Why?
They think
So these
that
birds
it's harming the environment. I don't think it is. I've seen some studies, and I don't think it is.
They want to grow government is what they want to
Well,
do.
they want to require you to get a modern, this high-tech septic system. I think it's cost $50,000. I mean, and it's just unnecessary because the septic tank systems have been proven they're working. They're not causing any damage to the environment.
I understand there's not a recorded case of one polluting the, any of that.
Right, exactly. Studies been done, and actually, city sewer systems, their pipes leak.
But what's
They have
behind
more of
this?
a problem with the city sewage systems leaking than they do with somebody's septic.
Who is it that wants to regulate the city?
Well, environmental groups. How they're mandating solar panels in California on every new construction home, and that's going to cause homes to go up in that price, and the maintenance cost. Maybe you don't want, maybe you do, but maybe you don't want solar panels because they're ugly to look at on your house, and they cost money to maintain, and they break down, and you have to repair them. And I've been told to repair a solar system is very expensive. So I think they're great if you want them. But, to mandate by government to say you have to have them, it's going to cost money. And it's the same with septic tanks. If you're going to say we're going to get rid of septic tanks and replace them with some new modern thing, all you're going to do is cause harm to the taxpayers, or we're going to have to chunk up a bunch of money for something that hasn't been proven to work, to get rid of something that hasn't been proved doesn't work. So again, environmental groups, and I would think owners of companies that make these new high-tech solar or septic tank systems probably would like to see it pass, so they'll make money. So there you go. Anyhow, got a question?
Yeah, there's a phrase that runs through my mind. I read the Federalist Papers. It goes like this: men acting by virtue of their power may not only oh gee. Okay, let me get it.
I think I know where you're going with that, but yeah, their virtue of their own, of what they think is virtuous may not be virtuous for
Men
me.
with power of power may not only what their powers do not authorize, but what they forbid.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
So what kind of people are we voting for? Have they ever read the Federalist Papers?
I love the Federalist Papers, and I'm going to read any Federalist
Well,
Papers.
that's our working manual right there.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not-
it
it's
absolutely
not in
is.
our schools.
Yeah, absolutely. So, appreciate your time. I do want to have Alex Snitker as the president of Liberty First Network.
Yay, Alex.
And I just want him to quickly, give me a couple minutes. I'm their lobbyist, but he's the guy behind the scenes, pulling all the levers, and he does a tremendous amount of work. He's the one, if you get our emails, they're coming from Alex, and so he does a tremendous amount of work, and he just wants to update on what's going on with Liberty First.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to use the mic because I'm just a loud person in general, and I'm sure all of you are going to hear me when I'm talking, so I'm probably going to get a little animated with some of this stuff. We did want to talk a little bit about 7026, what happened this year with the gun bills, and what we're looking at moving forward with gun legislation in this state. For years, we have been trying to get rid of gun-free zones, which is the ultimate reason why we have all the deaths that we had in Parkland, was because it is a gun-free zone. And for years, we've tried campus carry, open carry, and all this stuff, and the legislature has been complicit in getting those things done. Because of that, and because of a failure of government at every level, we had this tragedy. But because of this has put blood in the water when it comes to the people that are trying to take away our gun rights. So for the next couple of years, we are going to be on defense. We were on offense. We weren't doing very well, but we were on offense. But now we're going to be on defense. We need to get some of the legislation in 7026 wasn't bad. Hardening the schools was good. The Guardian program was good. Now the problem with the Guardian program is that they moved the fight into the school boards instead of making it mandatory. Now it's going to be a fight in the school boards, which I don't necessarily like. However, sometimes you got to deal with the cards as they're dealt with right now, and that's what we're going to be dealing with. So the next couple of years, we're going to be dealing with this. Now, I got to give a lot of kudos to John. We would not, look, I cut and copy and paste and put all these action alerts out there for you guys, so I'm always the one in the email doing all that stuff. But I'm not the one writing it, though. John's the one doing the research. John's the one that's doing all the writing on it. John's the one that knows what's going on up there, so we can go around. And so when I do radio interviews, I sound like I know what I'm talking about. So in all reality, John and Danielle really are the brains of the operation, and I'm just a loudmouth that they put in front a lot of times. But John talked a little bit about the short term and the long term, and I wanted to mention that as well. Is that each year is your short term, right? Like you try to get bills passed, some bills pass, some bills fail, but we're always moving the ball forward. What we did this year was we got direct care passed. It was a 4-year project. We got it passed. Now, there's a lot of bills this year, like if you look on the bad news, there's a lot of bills that failed. So the kind of legislation when it came to campaign finance reform, that failed this year. When it came to the school safety bill we talked about, other gun right legislation, the right to privacy, we had a right to privacy that failed in there as well. Ending government barriers to work legislation, which was a lot of having to get a license to work. There was 5 or 6 different industries that they were going to try to get rid of the licenses for, like hair braiders and things like that. Like, why do you need a license to braid hair? So that legislation failed. Another one that was protecting more protecting private property rights failed. And but all of these bills started moving forward. So what I would consider is we have a bunch of bills that are on the hopper. So we're now in the first year of a 4 or 5 year run with a lot of pieces of legislation. And that is a testament to the hard work that John does while he's up there. Now, if you don't get our action alerts, I do have a thing that I'll have in the back here. So if you just want to put your name and information and you want to get directly on the action alerts that you can. I know you guys hand our stuff out anyway. So I really do appreciate that you guys will just take our emails and you'll forward it down. But if you want to get directly on the email list, you can do that as well. In addition to this, I know you guys started asking some of the questions about the amendments. Now, typically, we're an organization. We don't deal with federal legislation. We don't deal with local legislation. We deal with state legislation. We find our niche, we work our niche, and that's all we do. However, because everybody in the state is going to vote on these constitutional amendments, myself, John, and Danielle are going to put together a video package that is going to show you all of the amendments, because there's 13 of them. And all we're going to do is to give you a clinical analysis of it. We're not going to tell you which way to vote on it. We're just going to tell you what it does what it doesn't do, and let the chips fall where they may. Because I think with these amendments, you're going to have reasonable people that will disagree on some of these initiatives. The voting rights one is definitely going to be one of them. They bundled a bunch of the stuff together on some of these other ones, which I don't necessarily approve of, but we are going to give you a complete analysis. You're going to have to give us 30 days to get it done, but I have it done by that point. I'm not going to do a live presentation on it. We're going to record it, but we're going to record it using like a freeconferencecall.com, and so it'll be us talking, and then there'll be words as a presentation that's going through it, and we will have a handout that'll be an attachment to the handout that you can just give out. So we're going to do it in a way in which you can have the maximum exposure for it, but at the same time, we're going to make sure that we put that out in a way that will be easier for you guys. And if you want to be able to play it here, you can, but I'm going to warn you, it's probably going to be there's 13 of them. It's going to take a little while. So that stuff's going on. Now my cards are going to be in the back as well, and normally when I come here, all we have is just, we're here talking, and we got, presentation stuff. This month we actually have swag. I wanted also, it's been a while since I've been here, so there's something else that happened with Liberty First during that time frame. Look, we kept getting sued by the state. Over and over again. They kept trying to gig us for this or gig us for that, because we did it as a nonprofit organization, right? But when you're a nonprofit, you got to sign all this paperwork and fill all this stupid stuff out, and you got to you're trying to get rid of having to pay the tax. But you know what? We're decided to give Caesar his cut. We went for profit, so that way we ain't got to deal with it, because we don't ever want to tell anybody who gives us money, because we think that your privacy is your business and not something that we need to tell anybody for, and because all we do is deal with legislation, we figured we went for profit. But with that being said, we aren't funded by any special interest groups. There's no magical donor that pays us money to go up there. And John does this full time, 24/7, 365. This is what he does all the time. Other than when you get a job working for Bob, doing policy stuff, he can get a gig like that every once in a while. So if you like what we do, if you support what we do, I do have T-shirts in the back, and I do have like polos in the back, and hats and bumper stickers and all that kind of stuff now. I would appreciate any, if you just want to make a donation, hell, we don't stop that either, except we call it a membership at this point, because it's illegal to call it a donation now. So, and if you guys as an organization give us money, then we actually put your guys' information on our website as one of our partners, and you guys have given us money in the past, and I really do appreciate that. It takes people like you giving us money in order to keep John going up there to Tallahassee. And like I said, the next couple of years are going to be some pretty big fights. Unfortunately, we're going to be on the defense when it comes to the gun thing. I just want to reiterate this. But it was a failure of the Republicans that were up there. It was their failure that this happened.
Top down.
They have to recognize it, and they have to start getting rid of the core problem, which is gun-free zones. There is no other problem they're having. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but there was a shooting, I might have even been in Florida just the other day. Illinois, yeah. Nobody died. Yeah. You know why nobody died? Because there was somebody there with a gun that was able to fight back. Because nobody can aim right if they got somebody shooting at them.
Good guy with a gun.
So we have to make sure that our children are safe and protected. Because every time there's a major tragedy, what they do is they go on the media. It's like with Parkland. Look, they were ready. Look, they were just waiting for the next time that there was going to be a mass casualty shooting. And what happened? They had buses ready. They had millions of dollars ready. They had an organization that was set for the teeth. Don't get me wrong. Look, those students did try to organize themselves. But it's a hell of a lot easier to do it when you got $30 million coming in from Soros in order to make it happen. It just is. We have to be organized, but more importantly, we have to get rid of the problem. And getting rid of the problem is get rid of gun-free zones and making sure that everybody has their Second Amendment rights protected here in the state of Florida. So like I said, thank you guys very much. And thank John very much, by the way. The guy we talk on the phone all the time, and especially during session. We're busy as all get out where we're having to send, if you guys get my action alerts, then you know that sometimes you get more than you're like, Alex, seriously, stop sending me action alerts. I'm sick of seeing them all. So we send out a whole lot, but it's either feast or famine. It's either we send out a lot, or we're off session and you don't get an email from me for months. So we're going to put an email out when it comes to the amendment stuff, but that's something we actually decided the other day. We started getting questions, people were asking us about the amendments and stuff, and so we decided that, because again, we have to listen, we listen to people as well. You guys are the ones that, fund us and make us work. So we should listen to people that give us money. We're going to do the amendment stuff, but again, we're going to give you a clinical analysis. You guys look at it, and then you make your own decisions, because it's just for us to lay it out, for you to play it out. So like I said, thank you very much. If you have any other questions for John or for myself, I'd answer any of the questions that you have at this point, but thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.